Hello, and welcome to the Mama Making Podcast, where we share stories of moms making impact in their own lives and in the world around them. I'm Jessica, and each week I sit down with women who are building businesses, leading communities, shaping culture, and redefining what success looks like inside of motherhood. Because motherhood does not have to stop your ambition, it can transform it. Now let's get into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mama Making Podcast. I'm your host, Jessica. If you're new, welcome. If you're not new, then welcome back. Today, I am so excited to share with you a podcast episode I recorded with Mariela De Santiago. We connected a few years ago now, I want to say 2024, when she was on the podcast. It's number 87. We talk about both of our first birth experiences, our pregnancies, our birth stories, and postpartum, and we talk about things that we would want to do differently. So what's exciting about this episode is she has just had baby number 2, and we talk about all the things that she wanted to change and did. So we talk a little bit more about what her baby number 2 looks like. I talk a little bit about what I would want to do with my next baby off the piggyback of the first episode. So I am so thrilled to share this episode. It is on both my podcast feed and Mariela's feed. I would highly suggest you go and check out her episodes as well. She is such an incredible podcaster, and I'm so honored to have her. So without further ado, here's the episode. I'm very excited to be podcasting again with you, Mariela. Last time we talked, you were not pregnant yet with baby number 2. And we were chatting about all the things we would do differently for pregnancy number 2, baby number 2. So we're back here. Give us a life update. What do things look like for you right now?
Oh my goodness. It's kind of crazy how much has changed because I have an almost 4-year-old. I don't think I was pregnant at the time when we connected, but now I have an 8-month-old little girl. So that has been new. I've kind of transitioned a little bit from my mom group to take a step back during that time because I really just wanted to be present and enjoy my pregnancy, which let me tell you, it was not very enjoyable. But I gave myself the time and the space to sit with that and do whatever I needed to do to care for myself instead of just like push through it and go, go, go like I did with pregnancy number 1. So that is where I'm at. How about you?
Yeah, so I have a 3-year-old. He just turned 3 in October. I know our boys are pretty similar in age or close in age. So it was so fun to talk last time about kind of what we thought would be different. We still have just the one. We're working on number 2. Fingers crossed. We're joined with another one soon. But that's why I'm so interested and excited to talk about what actually was different and how things looked for you. I know your first pregnancy wasn't as bad as you had thought it was going to be. Tell me, if you want to reflect on that a bit, you can, but tell me all about number 2 and how it was different or same or what it all looked like.
Number 2 was totally different. So for number 1, I didn't have any morning sickness. I worked the entire time, ran up until the day that I had my son. Baby number 2, I had morning sickness. I kind of had an idea that it was a girl. She was a girl, is a girl. I was not able to work out, which was really, really hard for me because I've always been somebody that needs to move. And that was kind of like my outlet. And so being that I wasn't able to do that, it was hard on me. Like I would show up to my OB appointments and just start crying. So we ended up putting my son in school full time to allow me to have the time to just go for a walk, whatever it was. I saw a chiropractor. I got massages monthly. I had acupuncture. So I honestly did everything that I didn't do with my first pregnancy. And it was still harder. And I don't know
That's
if
so
it's
crazy.
because, I was a little bit older, but yeah, I was iron deficient. I mean, going up my flight of stairs, I had to take a minimum of 2 breaks. It was so hard on me.
Oh, wow. That's such a hard switch when the first one was like pretty cut and dry for the next one to be so challenging, not only physically, but I'm sure emotionally as well.
But yeah, I mean, I cried a lot just because I couldn't run. I couldn't work out. And I know that sounds so petty and so like maybe ridiculous, but for me, that was like my form of self care. It always kind of has been to just have that as an outlet. And it was kind of taken from me, as well as like, my body was no longer really just like my body.
Yeah, and I think we take that for granted, not being able to I mean, it's a choice if you're like, "Oh, I'm done working out," but if you want to and are unable to, like, there's so much choice taken from that. I'm sure that's really hard to be able to be like, "Okay, what's my thing now? What do I do?" Especially if it's a little harder on the second time around.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me a little bit more about what it looked like planning for baby 2 when it came to your family. Obviously, with baby number 1, there was no other child to consider. What did it look like kind of preparing your first, preparing your marriage for number 2? How did that unfold?
I love this. Okay, so there were a lot of things that were different, right? Our priority was our son, transitioning him to become a big brother to where he wasn't feeling like he was pushed out or being replaced. They have a pretty big age gap, 3 years. So he had already been in school part-time, and once we started my 3rd trimester, we put him in school full-time. My husband and I had conversations about what we wanted to do, who was going to come to the hospital to meet the baby, how all of that was going to be done, because now we actually needed somebody to watch our son while we were having our daughter. So that was nice to be able to make sure that we were on the same page. The planning of like what we needed, what we didn't need. It was really nice already having everything. I already had the crib. I just had to now transition my son to a big boy bed because his nursery stuff was going to become all of hers. So we did all of those things well in advance instead of all at once. With my special ed background, I've always been very mindful of how we transition. We try not to just do everything at once because it's just going to blow up. So we did the bedroom, we did the school, we did a lot of like preparing him for having a sister. We already had all of the baby items. It was really fun to shop for baby girl clothes this time around. And the registry, I didn't have like stuff. There wasn't anything that I really needed other than maybe a few like postpartum recovery items. But most of my like number one thing that I put on that registry was a postpartum doula. And I really wanted the help because my husband took 4 weeks off this time. The first time around, he only took 1 week. And we had like a whole plan of who was going to take our son to school, what was school going to, the day going to look like after he got home, how were we going to make sure he was getting the attention because I was having to feed. So I can't, not feed the baby and then just play with him. Like my husband can't feed baby because I got the boobs. So that was really different. But, we did a lot of conversing about this so that we were on the same page.
Was there anything that you wish you had prepared for on that front of like, "Oh, I didn't really expect this was gonna happen. I wish we'd planned for it a little bit ahead of time?"
Honestly, no. I don't feel like there was anything that kind of came up abruptly. My son did really, really well. I think the hard part was really, no, now he had a big boy bed and had access to Rome, which meant he was waking up a lot more in the middle of the night and coming over because I don't know, he needed to be tucked back in. That was probably the hardest part. We did have like a 1 month struggle of trying to do the sleep training with him. And eventually we figured, okay, we're going to do our own version of sleep training where bedtime is done identical by mom and dad. Like we went over it with him. We had him repeat the bedtime routine because originally it might be a little different. Like maybe dad would read books and lay in bed with him and then leave. Maybe mom would, you know, tuck him in and then I'd sit on the edge of the bed. So it was very different and we had to be aligned. And that was what really helped us out.
I think what you said about your special ed background of like slow transitions, making things more seamless, and just being aligned on what your plans were, feel like immeasurably helped you.
Yeah.
So tell me, when it came to preparing your son with what to expect about having a baby, what did that look like?
We talked about it a lot. We told him he was going to be a big brother. We got books for him. I had a friend give us books about him being a big brother. We had him help us with getting involved with a lot of things as I had mentioned, his nursery was now going to be moved over to become the baby girl's nursery. He had a nursing chair that he would sit on to read books, and now we needed to put that chair in the nursery too. So we had buy-in with him of like, let's go get you a chair because now you get your own big boy chair and this will be mommy's chair to feed the baby. So really getting him excited about all of that and telling him that he's, a big boy, big brother. I think it was really easy because he was also in school. So he's learning to really be independent because he's not with me all the time anymore. So that was, I think, really supportive and helpful to have. And with him being full time, I also have family help. So we have grandma and grandpa that would help once a week or so. So there was that portion where it was like, if I needed time, we know that he would have certain days where he was spending time with his grandparents.
Yeah, I love that. I think having them involved in the process has to be so much easier in a sense to helping them be part of things. Obviously, just because they've been around solo for so long, I'm sure there's a little bit of like, well, wait, I'm not the center anymore, which is what I fully expect with my son. But I think once they're part of it, it makes it a little bit different. They have a little bit of ownership over what's about to happen.
Yeah, I was nervous about that. Like, oh my gosh, he's going to feel like he's being replaced. Honestly, I don't feel that he had that sense. He has been an amazing big brother. He's really helpful from the very beginning, was very helpful with the diapers. If we had to go shopping, just getting him involved with everything. Like, hey, can you help me pick out a onesie? Which one should I get? This one or this one? It's exciting for them.
Yeah. Yeah, my son loves to be a little helper, so I can only imagine in real time that your son was all about it.
Yeah. And see, I mean, what are you doing? I know that you are not there yet, but you're in the process of hopefully getting there. So, is there anything that you are doing now to hopefully be able to prepare your son, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so we have been doing some stuff. It is helpful. Like you said, school is very helpful. A lot of the other kids have siblings. One of his really good friends at school, his mom just had twins. So it's being talked about there. And so I think he's getting a better idea of what that looks like or means. And so we're kind of letting him lead it a little bit when he wants to talk about babies. We're talking about it. He's very interested in the body. We have like a body book and we have a body puzzle with all the different body systems. And so he knows a baby grows in your belly, or we haven't gotten to the other options yet, but he loves to like walk through the process of a baby being born or a baby growing. So we kind of like let him lead with the questions, but he's very interested. He loves to look in the baby section at Target, like look at all the little tiny things. But it is very interesting that like we haven't had a ton of babies around us in our circle, but he seems to be very interested. So we're just kind of like allowing him to ask the questions. And it was very important to me. And one of the reasons that we decided to wait so long was I wanted him to be very independent so that he could. I have that same fear of like, I don't want him to feel like he's being replaced or like the baby needs more. And so he's not as important, which as moms, we probably just put on, on ourselves unnecessarily. But I really wanted him to be independent so he could feel like he was his own person. He was able to help. He was able to be involved as much as he wanted, but also that like autonomy that they build wouldn't go away when a new baby came and he wasn't able to have 100% of our attention. So, yeah, we're kind of letting him lead it.
I love that. But yeah, I think that is just a fear that we're afraid that our little ones our first babies are going to feel like they're being replaced.
Yeah, yeah, and 3, 4 years has been a long time, so I'm, like, in my head, I'm like, "What is this gonna look like? How is this going to change things?" And obviously, it changes a ton adding another person, but, I feel like we're really laying the groundwork to make a transition a little bit easier if we can, in terms of m making him feel like he's got his own little life at school. I want him to feel like he has his own little life, and he kind of does. He goes to my in-laws twice a week. He goes to my parents twice a week after school where he's had like a whole day with his friends and being independent. So, I'm hopeful we're taking the steps to make it a little bit easier for him.
Oh, that's so nice. I think having the help if you do have family around is it's key. It really is key to supporting you with that.
Yeah, and I would love to hear more about how much it changed in your marriage or relationship in terms of, I mean, it's like two man now and or man to man. And so how did that change things preparing for bringing another little one? I mean, us moms are primarily the ones babies need in the beginning. How did that all look?
So we tried to keep things as consistent as we could for him. Originally, we have always done one person does bath, the other person does bedtime, and then the next day it would alternate. So we wanted to keep that the same. At first, it's kind of hard because if you are nursing, right, you're kind of on demand. So it was a matter of like trying to figure out, I can't even say a schedule. My daughter is not on a schedule. That is a non existent thing for us right now. My son is. But trying to figure out like when she was going to bed, when she would be feeding, a matter of that. Now it's a little bit better where whoever is doing bath time for my son is the person that's feeding baby and putting her down. So we've kind of now gotten at 8 months to a better place where she actually has a little bit more of a consistent bedtime, but nothing as far as his routine has changed. So that was key when she came home. She's a very different baby from my son. Like with my son, he woke up in the middle of the night for every regression, every teething. And when he would wake up in the middle of the night, you had to change his diaper. He would not sleep in a dirty diaper. My daughter's not that way. She can stay in the same diaper, thank goodness. But she started sleeping through the night at 2 months old. So I would give her a dream feed
Wow,
and then
that's
she would
amazing.
awake. Yeah. So she would wake up around between 6 and 7 a.m. Incredible. For whatever reason, this last week, she has not been doing that. She's been waking up once around 3 a.m. It's fine. But let me tell you, it is tough when you are used to literally sleeping from, say, 11 p.m. to 5:30 a.m. without interruptions. So that dynamic has, just because she is an easier sleeper than my son was, it really hasn't been difficult, or there really wasn't too much that my husband and I had to figure out. But we did have to go through like restructuring our dinner and maybe pushing his bedtime back. So making it so that our bedtime routine wasn't so rushed and it was a little bit more enjoyable. Like my son likes to go for evening walks. So after dinner, we have to make sure, are we doing a walk? If not, are we just doing playtime? Sometimes we'll do a family walk. And if we can't do a family walk because she's asleep, then one person goes with him. So we just kind of figure it out and just make sure that like the bedtime consistency is solid for him and that the baby sleeps and is fed.
Yeah, it's so interesting how different each baby is from one another. We were very unscheduled with my son, and it was great for us. Very similar to a second baby, where it was like, you're just going where we go. And that was just kind of our philosophy. And he slept wherever we were when he was tired. And we always joke like our second one could need a very strict schedule, and that would require a lot of change for us as well. It's so crazy how each baby is different.
I know, literally from the same parents. And you're like, I like this thing about him though. Can we
Yeah.
do that?
Yeah. Right. So tell me, on our first episode, we talked a little bit about, well, we talked mostly about your birth story and your birth plan. What was different about what you planned for or what actually happened from your first birth to your second?
So my first one, I was induced. So I'd gone to my stress test. That didn't go so well. So from there, I was sent straight to the hospital, and I cried about that because I hadn't showered and I had done yoga and I wanted to go home and shower. And then I ended up having a C-section. So it was a very unpleasant birth experience. The recovery was tough. This second time around, I opted to go for a C-section. I wanted that. And part of the reason why I wanted it was also just for the planning purposes. I felt like it was the only way that I was going to have any sort of control with what was going to happen. I already knew what the recovery would look like. I would know exactly when I needed somebody to watch our son, and we would be able to drop him off together. So we had that in place, and it was so nice. Oh my goodness. Like going in, having the C-section, having baby there. I slept the whole night before. It was amazing.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we literally, my husband and I went and we dropped our son off, and then we went to the beach, and then we just got to enjoy the day before going to the hospital. And I got to shower, arrived to the hospital, did our thing, set up, and the baby was there, and it was pretty easy. The hard part was that her birthday is right before Mother's Day, and my son had a whole like Mother's Day celebration, and I couldn't be there because I was at the hospital. So that was a bummer. But watching them meet it just like fills your heart. Right before my daughter was born, as I was packing my hospital bag, I broke down because, you come to terms, like you're realizing like this is it. My baby is not going to be my baby anymore. Like he's the big baby. And it's exciting, but it's also really sad because you kind of lose that, like, I think, stability in your life. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's really exciting. You're going to bring another baby that you've wanted and that you've grown and that you are so excited to get out of your body. Oh my gosh. But it's definitely bittersweet.
Yeah, for sure. I can absolutely understand just that like changing of your season. It's like you're literally packing for the changing of your life. And I imagine that's pretty overwhelming.
Yeah, definitely is.
So tell me, what did recovery look like for you? You said you knew what to expect. How did it align with what you experienced before? And what things did you put in place prior to having her that you were like, these are non negotiables? This is what I need to be best supported?
So I created a little cart. So on that cart, I had everything that I could possibly need, nipple butter, pumps. I got a little mini fridge, like one of those makeup fridges or soda fridges, and I put that upstairs in our room. And that way, if I had to pump in the middle of the night, then I could just stick it in that fridge and I didn't have to go downstairs. That highly recommend. That is worth
Yeah,
putting
game
in a
changer, I'm
registry.
sure.
Yes. I had a manual pump upstairs. I had the whole cart with like snacks and diapers and face towelettes in case were stuck and couldn't move or all of those things. So the difference with the recovery was that because it was a planned C-section, I knew like what to expect. It was an easier recovery because it wasn't like the first time around where they, induced me. So the goal was to deliver vaginally and then have a C-section. So it was like kind of a double whammy in that sense versus the second time around, it was just that C-section. So, the thing that I did do was make sure that I had comfortable clothes. I didn't want to do that the first time around. I bought comfortable clothes for my pregnancy. I bought comfortable clothes for my postpartum stage, even though it was a very temporary thing where I was like, yeah, you know what? I need to go 2 sizes up, but that's okay. I need to be comfortable and feel cute. And that has been really nice. I've also now am to the point where I'm like, oh, I get to get rid of these clothes. It's a bummer because I really like them, but they don't fit, which is great.
Yeah, there really is something to just having clothes that fit and feel good in that time frame. I think I talked about it in our first episode together, but I waited so long to wear maternity clothes, and then I finally did, and I was like, "Why did I wait so long? Like, these are so comfortable." And I wore them all through my postpartum and, like, had no shame about being, like, 4 or 5 months postpartum and still in my maternity pants. But there really is something to cute, comfy clothes during a time when you, like, feel kinda.
Yeah, and I totally get like not wanting to spend the money because you're like, oh, it's so temporary, but your body is growing so much and getting those pants that really expand and go all the way over your belly, so worth it. I lived in
Yeah.
mine
Yeah.
and then I gave them to a friend.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, all of the maternity clothes I had were from my sister who has had 4 kids now. Some of them it was almost like Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. Like, each little piece was like, "Oh, I got this from so and so, and she had this baby." And so I had this whole bin of clothes that were like all these different mom friends that had, like, been through it together. So you're almost kind of contributing to a really cool life cycle.
Yeah. I mean, what is it that you had prepared for with first baby for like that postpartum recovery that you would do again? Because I didn't do a cart. I didn't have any of that stuff. I didn't even know what to
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, that's a great question. I had a planned home birth that wound up transferring, and then my son was in the NICU. So I had all of these plans for postpartum that were like, we're gonna lay in bed together for several days. Like, we're doing a lie-in where I like don't leave my bedroom for however many days. And that just so was not reality at that point. I did have the postpartum cart already made up, which was great because then when I came home, all the stuff that I needed was right there. So I think for me this time around, again, way less stuff just because I don't need it, but also because I felt like so much, looking back, there was so much overwhelm for me about the amount of stuff we needed or stuff I wanted to have. And that was hard to kind of navigate that overwhelm.
Yeah, I think we are like bombarded with, well, this thing is going to make this easier. And a lot of it is just like little knickknacks that you're like, but I don't need that, like the amount of baby items. And
Yeah.
really, it's like junk, just selling
Yeah.
moms things because we're vulnerable.
Yeah. And I felt like I did a lot of second handing, whether it was from my sister or friends or Facebook Marketplace, but that stuff still accumulates. And I'm so grateful for having a large registry where most of the things were purchased because for consecutive babies, I won't need more things and can focus more on like the postpartum care and things like that. Um, but yeah, I think if I were to buy anything, it would be the bottle dishwasher that didn't
I bought
exist
that.
when. Okay, it didn't exist when we had our first babies, and so I it's so funny, I wanna say my son was, like, 8 months, and me and my husband were so tired of bottles, and we had a really bad dishwasher that, like, never washed them well enough, and so we'd have to sanitize them more than once, and it was just such a hassle, and we looked into getting a tabletop dishwasher, and our kitchen just wasn't set up appropriately, and then literally, I wanna say my son was, like, a year and a half, and some of the baby brand companies started coming out with them specifically for bottles, and we're like, we could have been millionaires had we come up with this idea.
Yeah, it really does make a difference because if you only run your dishwasher once, right, then you have to have a certain amount of bottles, certain amount of pump parts so that they get cycled through. And depending on how often you're pumping and bottle feeding, like that's a lot. I run my dishwasher
Yes.
twice a day, my little one.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's so worth it, I have to imagine.
And you had mentioned something about like the laying in bed, then that totally made me think like this time around, I invested in some really comfy pajamas. I pajamas that I could feel cute in, that are like, the little matching sets from Kindred Bravely, comfy
Yeah.
nursing bras. Like I really went all out.
All out. Yeah. I love that. So we talked previously about having a list of 5 or so things that we would do differently. I would love to hear some of your rundown of your 5 that you were like, "These are a must."
We did a postpartum doula. That was the highest request for us. That was amazing. This time I had my hairstylist come to my house and chop my hair because it was falling out. And I was like, I just got to get rid of it. I don't want to leave my house. Highly recommend that if that is an option. It was so nice to just be in my PJs and have my stylist come up, be able to do that in my bathroom while my baby napped. I didn't have to worry about a babysitter. I didn't have to worry about driving or a schedule. It was great. House cleaner. Definitely had a house cleaner come the day we were coming home from the hospital so that everything was nice and clean. You feel so ick at the hospital. So coming home to a space that's clean is really nice. We did we did not ask for a meal train, and the reason being that we are plant-based, so we didn't want to put that on people with how restrictive our diet is. A lot of people are like, "Oh, can you have butter?" No, we can't. Or we can only have this kind of butter. So we didn't want to do that, but we did do the purple carrot box. And then we had our postpartum doula help us with that, which was amazing. So, meal delivery kit, but it just had to be cooked at home. And then we had our photographer come and do photos. We actually had two photographers. So we did the ones where the babies are like wrapped up and bundled up, which I did not do with my son. So we did that about a week and a half after my daughter was born, and that was done here in our home. So sweet, so cute. I loved it. And then we did family ones after that.
Oh, I love that, the dedicated newborn pictures.
Yes. It was so adorable. I mean, I kind of wish now that I had done it with my son, but it just was not something
Yeah.
that was on my mind.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think, for me, postpartum doula is right up there. I think a lot of people are like, "Well, what will they even do for you?" And it's quite literally anything. And I think that for second baby, it has to be huge because not only are you navigating postpartum recovery, you're navigating breastfeeding and naps and just recovery in general, but then also you have this other little person that's needs drop off or whatever it might be that I think that a postpartum doula would be extremely beneficial for your subsequent kids.
Yeah. And, we used her a lot for supporting like our dinner time, evening time when my son was home, because that way I would be with baby and my son would be with dad. And then we would still have meal or whatever needed to be done so that we were fed and nobody was
Yeah.
ignored.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my second one. Making sure whatever it is, I feel like everybody's diets are different or food preferences are different. I think figuring out what it is that you want and asking for it. So like you said, you were plant-based, the purple carrot boxes worked perfect for you. Having something that you're like, what do I have to make for dinner is like the last thing you want to worry about. And so having it just like delivered to your door, or we were very lucky first time around. We have a really strong gym community and we probably didn't make a meal for at least a month, maybe 2 months since we had our son, because people were either dropping off freezer meals or like weekly we'd have a bin of stuff at our front door. And that was so helpful because you can only eat DoorDash food, restaurant food so many days in a row. And for me, it just felt it was like a crazy postpartum. It just felt so good to have at home meals that people had prepared for us and was like things that they loved when they were postpartum or loved to cook for their family or were cooking for their family and just had a little extra that they sent to us. Not only was it nourishing for all of us and something that I didn't have to worry about, there was just something special to it.
Yeah, and they also have like a bunch of the postpartum meal delivery services, which are like
Yes.
the 40 days. So if moms are looking into that or just interested in having a service for themselves for lunches or whatever it may be, like that's an option too. There's so many great routes.
Yeah, I think just figuring out whatever your thing is. I have a cousin who had a baby just a couple weeks before me, and she was like, only send us DoorDash gift cards. Like, that's all we want. We're not interested in making anything. We're very picky. It would just be easier. And everyone was like, okay, fine, send them. So I think those, like, thinking ahead of what you want to have would be imperative.
Yeah.
Like you said, having the house cleaned before, whatever that looks like. We had a planned home birth, so we had our house deep cleaned prior to. But even if we didn't go that route again, I would absolutely have our house cleaned top to bottom, because it's like the last thing you want to think about is like scrubbing toilets.
Yeah. And now that you have a first baby that goes to school, right? They're like bringing things home and
Yes,
you're
they
like,
sure
okay,
do. Yeah.
we
Yeah.
got to wipe those toys down.
Yep. Yeah. So I think someone to come in, kind of deep clean your house or do a surface clean, I think is great as well.
And even during that postpartum stage, like if you could put that on your registry, because I think with baby number two, I slowed down a lot. I was not in a rush to get up and go do laundry. Like, it'll get done. I don't care. So if you can have either a house cleaner or like I also had a mother's helper to just help me with those type of chores. That was really nice.
That's a great suggestion. I think we talked about it on our last one, like sleeping when the baby sleeps is an obvious one to us now, but I think sleeping when your first baby is not around, so when they are home that you can have time with them. I would imagine it's hard to do when you're tired, but sleeping when the baby sleeps and then when the first baby is off at school, doing the same thing, nourishing yourself, getting rest. In partnership with that, I got a postpartum massage that came to my home. She set me up. My baby was just sleeping on my chest. She did the massage, put him in his little bassinet for a back massage, and I can't even describe how great I felt after. So if you can swing it, getting a postpartum massage is incredible.
Yes. Yes. I did not have somebody come to my house, but I did go to my masseuse who I had went to when I was pregnant, and I just brought my baby. But she was small enough for me to be able to like lay her down. If I needed to nurse her, I could nurse her. Having that postpartum massage and doing a little bit of self care when you're literally caring for somebody else and using your body to do that if you're nursing, highly recommend.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important to mention, like, all of the things that we mentioned are service based, not necessarily, I mean, outside of the bottle dishwasher, everything else is like built to take care of yourself and your family in a way that things cannot.
Yeah. And one thing, this way it might be a little bit hard to do if you're not sure if you can produce or will have enough milk. I have been freeze drying my milk, whereas my first time around, I didn't and it was going bad. So I had to give it away. This time, I decided that I don't really want to nurse past the 1 year mark if I can make that happen. With my son, I nursed until he was 19 months. So I've been pumping twice a day and sending my milk to get freeze dried by Milk by Mom. And then it's shelf stable for 3 years. So if you do have that as an option, or you already have a baby and maybe you want to look into that, like maybe adding that as a gift card on your registry would be a great option because it helps with freezer space, shelf space, stable for 3 years. You can give it to them. Like it doesn't go bad just by putting it in your bag. We travel with it. And that way, if it's like, oh, she's hungry, let me just heat up some milk. Or if she doesn't use it, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I didn't even know that that was an option.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I like threw out so much milk that we never used, and that would be life changing.
I think it was starting to be a thing with when our little ones were young, but it's not as big as it is now. There's a few more companies, but I use Milk by Mom. I also have a discount code that I can have in the show notes
Yeah,
if
share
anyone
it.
is interested.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, that is incredible. I will be adding that to my list for sure. Well, anything else that you think would be important to mention to families welcoming their second babies or even their thirds? on your experience and your journey and what you would do differently.
So I think it's the most important thing is making sure that you are on the same plan with your husband. Like be aligned on what it's going to look like with having guests. Who's coming to meet baby when you're in the hospital? Like I had told my husband, I said, I don't want anyone. I want our son there, but nobody is to come to the hospital because I don't know. I was in bed, uncomfortable, feeling swollen. It's just depending if you have an epidural or not. Like, do you really want people to see you? That those are things that you need to ask yourself. Like, how do you want to feel when people are coming to see the baby? Because that's what they're coming for. They're coming to see the baby, and then it's just kind of like you were the product that was there to help have the baby.
Right. Yes. Yes.
So be aligned with that. Have those roles on or those rules set in place. If somebody is coming to your house, are you going to ask them to wash their hands, if you want them to have certain vaccines, or if you want them to wear a mask, whatever it is? But like be very clear so that you guys are both a team and not having this pushback from family members that are forcing themselves into your safe space. This is your home, this is your hospital room, birthing center, whatever. So that is like the biggest takeaway. And I actually did ask people to do things like, oh, can you load the dishes while you're here?
Yeah,
Or
I love
fold.
that.
Yeah. And I didn't do that the first time around. I was too worried about like getting everything done or like, here, hold the baby while I do that. No, this time around, it's like, I'm going to feed them. I'm going to do that and have them help
Yeah,
me.
I think most people want to help. They just don't know what to do. And so I think second time around it's like grab a dish rag where we'd love some help cleaning the dishes or drying some bottles, whatever it might look like for you. I think people are mostly wanting to help.
Yeah. I mean, is there anything that you think that you are going to look into? I guess I know that when we talked about it last time, it was like what we would do differently. And there's always things that are being added for babies, kind of like you mentioned the bottle washer, or for moms that you're like, huh, never thought of that. Maybe I'm going to look into that.
Yeah, like I said, I had no idea about the freeze drying milk. I'll absolutely be looking into that. I did not do placenta encapsulation the first time. I was advised not to by my one of my doctors, and I just don't think that they were super informed on the process. So I think I would like to do a little bit more of my own research on placenta encapsulation. Let me think what else. I do think that I will invite less people to see the baby at first. I think it was the first baby of ours and my in-laws' first baby, and we were just excited to have people see and meet him. And I don't think I would change it prior, but I think this time around, um, I would allow our family to bond a little bit on our own before kind of breaking the seal and inviting people over to meet a new baby and just kind of protect our space a little bit more like you had said. Um, Everybody's so well-intentioned and are excited for you as well, but I think once you allow other people into your space, it changes the dynamic and, I think I'll definitely be a little bit more protective of my personal space maybe, and just that, like, I so desired to just lay in bed and be with the baby and be with my family, and I didn't get that opportunity just because that's not how the cookie crumbled, and so I would really like that opportunity again to just be for a little while before having to, like, get back online with everybody else. So I think allowing myself some more time and space to just be a new family, I think is kind of at the top of my list.
And one thing I did want to mention. So last time we had talked about having like a document of potential service providers that you might need before having. So I did do that. And this time around, I did use it because I was not very good at pumping at the beginning. And then once I started pumping, I would kind of skip certain pump sessions, which is not good, especially if you're trying to have a stash of milk and be done nursing at one. And so I did go to lactation consultant group. And it was really nice to know exactly where I could go and not feel like, oh my gosh, now I'm in this moment and I'm overwhelmed. And where do I go? And how do I get the support? So if you can do that, highly recommend for anyone listening to have that in place. And you may not even need it. I didn't need half the people that I listed, but I did use one of them.
Yes, that's amazing. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I was thinking about it recently. We had a amazing lactation consultant. She was a NICU nurse, had experience with NICU babies and feeding, and that's exactly what we needed for our son. But I didn't necessarily vibe with her. I felt like a lot of pressure and uncomfortable. Felt like I didn't know all of my options, what I was able to do. And so I think next time around, I would work a little harder to find someone that I felt like aligned with me and like we're welcoming people into our homes. I think having someone that aligns with you is which whatever kind of provider you have, I think is something that I would do over again.
Yeah. Second time around, it's kind of like a blessing in disguise that you kind of know what to expect or how you would do things differently.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, this was so great. Thank you so much for sharing about your second birth experience and I'm so happy for you guys.
Thank you. Well, I'm excited to follow along and see how everything goes for the rest of the year for you.
Yeah, thank you. I'll definitely keep you updated. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time.